Good evening in the home weather office, back with another one of these live streams. Getting really busy again. When you think it's not going to be that busy in 2 weeks from now, it actually is quite busy. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to do my YouTube in the midst of busy days ahead. I guess it's just because of the holidays coming up, or we're in the midst of Christmas and New Year's. So I hope you guys are doing great. We're going to wait for more people to join, and then I will get talking about the weather pattern that you all definitely need to be aware of. I mean, this is out of the ordinary. Actually, let me make sure I am loud enough so you all can hear me. Testing. I think everybody could hear me just fine. There we go. And so, we're going to be discussing about the upcoming weather pattern. Some of the warmest temperatures potentially on record could be making a visit across the northern tier of the United States, including Canada. And then we're going to be looking at El Nino, what that means for the rest of the winter, because we all know right now this is not acting really much like an El Nino right now at the moment, but we know it is still technically fall, even so it is meteorological winter. By late December, we should hopefully see a pattern change coming. So, yeah, we're gonna wait for more people to join. So be sure to invite your friends. To be sure to invite your family, as well as like the stream. Share this with your family and friends. It really means a lot to me. And also, of course, subscribe if you are new to the channel. So I'm just going to welcome everybody. Welcome, Butterdog. Welcome, Cheesy Weather. What's up, Gabriel Gaming? What's up, Mike Foley? What's up, Dakota Bachelor? How are you doing? I hope you all are doing great. We're going to wait for more people to join, and then we are going to get discussing about the weather pattern that that you definitely need to be aware of as we move deeper into December. What's up, Butterdog again? So we'll get started here in a couple of minutes or so. I'm just waiting for everyone to join. The more people that join, the more people that are actually listening and actually taking in with what I'm going to be discussing about in today's live stream. So if you please share this, get people to participate. That really would help out a lot. I also haven't been doing a lot of live streaming, so this is I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, David's live. David hasn't been live very often since I started my YouTube channel, and so this is a nice change for some of you that are wanting my live streams. All right, so I guess we have as many people that will join this live stream as much as possible. I think we're up to about 20, which is a good number based on my channel size. So we're going to keep an eye on the upcoming weather pattern because, as you all know, we are going to see changes coming. Probably one of the biggest storms so far in December is expected by early next week. And we could be talking about a lot of snowfall, a lot of heavy rainfall, and there's already a slight risk for severe weather for day 5 for Louisiana, for southern Texas, for Mississippi, because of how strong this system is going to be. This is actually, again, it's not like Winter Storm Elliott, but it is going to have a lot of wind energy with it. So as we go forward here on the Euro model, this is what we're looking at, this disturbance moving on through, bringing some snowfall for the northeast, for some of the higher elevations there. Very light in nature. We're not talking a whole a lot about accumulations here, maybe about an inch or so of snowfall. That moves out, though. But the whole thing here is, what's up, John 542E? How are you doing? The whole portion here is, it's just been very, very active lately over the Pacific Northwest. Even here in California, we got some showers coming in for tomorrow all the way into, say, Friday and even Saturday. Well, more so early on, before we get to Friday, we're going to get the majority of the moisture. But this is where a lot of our moisture has been impacting the U.S. Really, it's just kind of storm after storm after storm, and especially down here in the deep south. Right now it's quiet, but earlier or late last week, we had quite a bit of rainfall and some flooding over here, and so just been very active. Not much going on here over the northern plains, but it's just been really busy for the Pacific Northwest. And yes, there has been a lot of flooding, a lot of river rises, a lot of mudslides, debris flows, and that's going to continue, unfortunately, for the next few more days, possibly a little longer than that, as we just get storms, atmospheric rivers that just do not want to stop moving in. And this is really, it's not El Nino, it's El Nino related, but it's not what you expect with an El Nino, and I'll show you with what I mean by that when we get deeper into our conversation. And we are going to look at the Pacific, because the Pacific really influences on what the U.S. is likely to see, including the Atlantic too. So this is, by the way, this is Thursday, and this is Friday. That system moves through. You can see snow for the higher elevations. That's just kind of been the theme over the last couple of weeks. Snow for the Rockies, for the higher elevations there, for the Pacific Northwest. But notice here, really quiet for much of the eastern half of the country. Now, while the weather is going to be quiet here, this is the 18Z run, by the way, from the Euro. We'll go to the 12Z since that kind of goes further out in time. There's a system down here, so I'm going to point right here. See this little system over Oklahoma and northern Texas? If we take a look at the upper dynamics on this system, so we're going to look at the 500 millibar geopotential height and wind. You can see a jet streak carving its way into the four corners here, and this is going to set up our next system. One of the bigger changes coming here, then the pattern should quiet down more for the east in the mid-term forecast. But in the short term, we're looking at this system, and this is going to be a very, very strong system as it moves further east. So we go back and look at Saturday morning. Here's that system here on the Euro forecast. Got snow developing potentially over the Rockies, over Colorado, like Denver. We could even see some snow accumulations that could be light to moderate over central and western Kansas into southeastern, say, Nebraska. Unfortunately, Butterdog, you're not going to see a whole lot of snow out of this one. There's going to be a lot of warm air advection coming in out of the south, so you're going to miss out on another snowstorm, unfortunately, for your area. And this is going to develop pretty, it struggles a little bit on the Euro. And then we start to get another perturbation down here. So we have a surface low that tries to develop here, doesn't do so much. Then we have another surface low down here, kind of an elongation that tries, and this is going to be the one, I do believe, that's going to cause a lot of problems once this gets more dynamic and once it kind of moves up the eastern seaboard. Very classic here for kind of an El Nino to get a lot of rain down here. So we can see that system really develop, and also to the north too. Really could develop pretty quickly. But as I mentioned, there's going to be very little to no snowfall at all over Illinois, over Indiana, over Ohio. No snow machine here, folks. No Winter Storm Elliott 2.0, according to the Euro that we see. And this is for Sunday night next week, December the 11th. Okay, so about a week-ish before Christmas, you'd be talking a lot about light to moderate rainfall, some severe weather as well. Look just how dynamic this system is. We have a cold front that's going to be draped here. We have a warm front that's going to be anchored here. We got a classic warm sector with warmer air being advected northward by a very strong low-level jet at over 60 plus knots, moving into say the Chesapeake Bay as well into the New York City metro area. We could see water spouts with this too. And then by Monday morning, this moves out. Maybe Ohio could get a little bit of snow on the very backside, but there's a somewhat low confidence for that to occur. Lots of freezing rain and snow up here for sure. Look at this. I mean, this is very strong, very dynamic. 970 millibars as that moves off towards the northeast. And then, of course, like we talked about, the weather pattern looks to get more quieter thereafter through the middle of December. Now, notice how I did not talk much about California. That's because there's not going to be a whole lot going on for California standards. And, I mean, we're in the midst of an El Nino here, and we should start seeing the faucet turn on, the rivers of moisture to move into our area. But it's not going to be favored through mid-December because of the weather pattern that we're in, a highly amplitude wave pattern. And I'll show you that here on the polar vortex in just a second. But here's that dynamics that I talked about. So the first impulse, actually another product that we could see here is the 500. Let's go to heights here and go to the 500 height map. We can see a little bit of a perturbation right here. A little bit of a vortmax that takes place, another vortmax down here. So we can see that well modeled here on the Euro. And so when we take a look at our wind, or 500 millibar flow, we can see the strongest divergence and barotropic ascent and divergent flow aloft. And you can see, look how sharp this trough is. Very sharp. You can easily make it out right here. There's the axis, and look at the wind maximum there. Over 115 knots over the Mississippi Valley, over Alabama, over the Tennessee Valley. That moves in. And see how this becomes very negatively tilted with a lot of ascent, forcing dynamic lift. There's going to be a lot of severe weather, I think, right down in here. The day 6 does not have any assurance on slight risk at the moment, but we can see that in the later day 5 outlook for tomorrow morning. That might highlight this area eventually in a slight risk if model trends do continue. Because, again, we have a negatively tilted trough here. We have a very strong jet that is going to be encroaching into the region here. A lot of warm air advection. Dew points are going to be on the rise, warming temperatures too. And so that's going to be a recipe for severe weather. And look at this. I mean, very, very strong speed max that shapes up here. That's 130 knots over Pennsylvania, over New Jersey, over the Chesapeake Bay. This has a lot of wind energy to work with, and that moves off out of the picture by Tuesday next week. We look at our low-level winds on this map. Look at this. I mean, this is very, very, very strong. I mean, that's 103 knots for the northeast. I mean, no, I'm not hyping this up. This is a reality, potentially, that could be in the making if the Euro continues this trend. If we look at the 0Z run, it's very similar, but this system is a little slower. On the 12Z run from this morning. This is the 0Z from last night, and we can see very similar outcome here. 102 knots by Sunday night aloft. When we look at it now, we see it looks like to be now Monday morning here with still the same wind speed here of about 102 knots at 5,000 feet. Now, you all are wondering, why are we not looking at the surface winds? We'll get to that, though. But this means there's a lot of dynamics. We got baroclinic deepening. We got barotropic forcing along this baroclinic front. And so there's going to be a lot of wind to work with. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about wind energy with this system. And when we even look at the 925 millibar layer here, we have winds at 90 knots. That is about 2,000 feet, 1,500 to 2,000 feet above the surface. So you're talking some serious winds even at the surface, coming off of the Atlantic here, moving over the Long Island. And so when we look at our surface winds, yeah, that is hurricane force winds. And you never thought you could see hurricane force winds ahead, well, within a cold front. Well, you might be seeing that over Long Island, over Nantucket, over, say, Cape Cod. Could see some big time winds along this front. There's some pink there. That's 68 knots. That is hurricane force. When we look at our wind gusts, 80 to 90 miles an hour. Now, some of you are probably wondering, is this going to be a derecho show? Okay, we don't know yet because we have to look at high-resolution models. The cams have not come into range yet, so we don't know about a derecho, about an extreme wind damage event. We could only base off what the models are telling us. And right now, the better chances of you seeing high wind warnings are probably going to be higher right now. There's going to be wind. There's lots of wind with this system, potentially setting up here. This is still a little far out for December the 11th. Across, again, the southeast here, or across the northeast. And when we look at our wind swath forecast, the majority of the winds are going to really be shaping up here for the northeast, with wind gusts between 45 to 65 miles an hour, at least at the moment. That's what we're seeing on the Euro. If we look at the Euro ensemble forecast, there is some agreement on this too, with wind gusts between 40 and 55 miles an hour. The strongest winds, of course, with this system would likely be along the New York coast, along the Maryland, as well as even North Carolina. The ensembles are in better agreement that this area could have near hurricane force wind gusts potentially along as that system really gets developed, okay? And so that's what the ensembles are telling us. And now some of you are wondering, what are ensembles, okay? The Euro is a deterministic run. It's ran by 50 other members, and those members have a different outcome. One member might show hurricane force winds, while the other doesn't show much at all. And so you have to blend everything together, and this is basically an average of a lot of those members with the deterministic involved, showing us that, okay, this gives us pretty good agreement that there is going to be a big storm system that sets up next week. Now, precipitation-wise, if we look at the ensemble forecast, some of you are wondering how much rainfall you could see out of this. Kind of go forward here. Let's go all the way into Tuesday. More than likely between maybe about about 3/4 of an inch, maybe about 1.5 inches in some areas here, potentially maybe 1.5 inches down there across southern Alabama, as well as some of the Appalachians. Could see about 1.5 inches of rainfall. Remember, rain, no snow here. This is going to be a really warm system. In fact, one could even argue it might even feel tropical-like in some areas because of how much warmer air advection there's going to be. So right along here, you're probably going to see enough rain to cause at least some minor flood problems, but it's going to be the wind. That's going to be the big thing with this system. And if we take a look at the air temperature forecast here on the ensemble, we can see there's 70s across the southeast. If we look at the deterministic, that's going to be, again, the 12Z that we have to look at. Look at this warm air coming all the way northward here. Temperatures in the 60s in portions of New York, mid-60s across, say, if you're in Delaware, if you're in Maryland, if you're in, say, New Jersey. A lot of warm air advection with this. And yeah, you could even see some 80s down here. In central Texas, yeah, central Florida. There we go. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Probably excited about talking about Texas in itself, but it's going to be really warm, okay, for Floridians. If you're in Georgia, if you're in the Carolinas, it's going to also be warm out there. But this is not really insanity warm compared to with what I'm about to show you in portions of Canada of what the Euro is actually trying to sniff out. And this is very, very concerning, folks. I mean, it takes me a lot to be... It takes me a lot, in other words, to be concerned about how warm temperatures are going to be. But in Canada, that's just gross. It's disgusting. In other words, in meteorological standpoint, you don't see temperatures that warm very often. And so we're going to show you that here in a little bit. But I wanted to kind of drill down this system for you all for early next week, that this still has the potential of bringing quite a bit of impacts. Now, as far as snow amounts go, let's just go and look at the ensemble, the Euro, that is. This forecast really is not snow happy, in other words, all the way through. Let's just go into Tuesday morning. So anywhere between maybe 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, maybe up to 6 inches here over portions there of, say, Buffalo, New York. Maybe about an inch to a couple of inches of snow over the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes region. Maybe 6 inches here for northern Michigan. But most of the ensembles here are in pretty good agreement that this is not looking like a mega nor'easter like we thought a few days ago. And I'm going to better talk about why that is and stuff in a little bit, because our pattern has just been it's just been very unstable, and I'll show you why that has been the case since mid-November. The pattern, once it changed, it's been very wavy. There hasn't not been much consistency from run to run, from ensemble to ensemble, and it's very, very disappointing as a forecaster when you see that. Like, there's just no fidelity in the mid-range, even on the Euro, just not locking down things very well. And hopefully once we get into mid-December, maybe things will change. Maybe we'll see more consistency among the models, since there's more, the jet stream, the polar vortex is more stable. But right now, that polar vortex is very weak. In fact, some portions of the polar vortex are non-existent at the 200 millibar level, like over the Eastern Atlantic or the Northeast Atlantic. The vortex is very weak there. And that's probably what's causing a huge ripple effect across the higher latitudes. Okay, we'll get to questions here in a little bit once I kind of get done here talking, because I only have another 30 or so minutes to do so. All right, so I wanted to show you all the temperatures that are very astonishing, very concerning, and this involves the much of the U.S. For reference, we are looking at the United States. Okay, so this is the U.S., this is Mexico down here, this is Florida, and this is the Northeast, right? And there is the Great Lakes. Here is Canada up here on the top of the screen. And so we can see clearly that where's the Arctic air and when is it going to come back, right? Well, I don't see it coming back anytime soon based on latest model guidance data. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I did forget to mention to you all, you might see an ad playing in the background. It is not my choice. YouTube does it automatically. So if you are seeing an ad, I will take a pause here until that ad is over. What's up, Pyro Thunder? What's up, Craig? What's up, iPat202? How are you doing? What's up, Phoenix? Pyro Thunder? How are you doing? What's up, Chris Ross? What's up, Molly Brown? Pope Adrian, how are you doing? Scott Patton, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Again, for you that are new to the stream, please share this with your family and friends on social media. Let's get this out to a lot of people. I'm looking into doing more of these live streams because my schedule kind of does not allow me to make videos as often as I would like until things get squared away. And so, again, if you guys are new, share, like, and subscribe. All right, so I think the ad is not playing in the background anymore, so we will get talking now. So, as you all know, temperatures are going to be on the rise, okay? And this is not typical for December by any means. And so, if we go forward here on the Euro, yes, you're going to get a little shunt of cooler air that is going to be moving into the southeast, the eastern, and the northeast, but this is only temporary. Everything here is temporary because the pattern, look at this, we got a lot of warm air overwhelming the United States. And so this cooler air here is just going to kind of propagate out of the forecast by early next week. And so we end up seeing warm temperatures again with cooling expected for the four corners. Now, that's going to be rather temporary. Actually, you know what? Let's go to the deterministic. Sorry, I was on the wrong thing. So there's a cooler air there. This moves out, and then we get cooler air for the southeast again. But this is when the pattern really changes, and this is according to the Euro deterministic. We'll be looking at the ensembles, but look how warm it is up here. We're not seeing a classic flow pattern where we have a ridge like this. It kind of dips down, and we get this negative NAO type of pattern where we get cooler temperatures that are locked here, where we get colder air that overwhelms much of this portion of the US, including for Canada. Instead, we're seeing a lot of warmer, milder temperatures this go around into mid-December. And as we go into the 13th, this is Wednesday. See this up here? This is what I'm talking about. This is kind of the more concerning aspect of the forecast. This is ridiculous. This is off the charts. This is potentially 50 degrees above average with these temperatures, okay, into British Columbia, into Alberta, Canada, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Canada. This is not what you want to see for mid-December. This is just courageous. This is going to influence and it's going to mess around with our weather pattern, but sadly, this is what you typically see with El Nino, where you don't see much in the way of a dip in the jet stream into this portion of the nation where we get cooler air that kind of piles up here in the eastern half. And so you're left with temperatures here that could anywhere be between 40 to even 50 degrees above average. And you can see it down here. This is 49.6 degrees above normal. Okay, so you round up the 6 to a 0, you get 50 degrees. Okay, but to be specific, it's 49 degrees above average. But the degree won't make a difference because right here, you would be witnessing historic records for the monthly all-time records to be challenged for the morning and also for the daytime hours too, because daytime temperatures will be well above average. Even so, yes, it's cooler there naturally versus if you're in Florida or Texas. It's for that area, for climatology, it is not normal. This is why we use temperature anomalies for a reason. And I mean, towards the end of the forecast, we get some cooler periods, but most likely here, the outcome is going to be for the continuation of well above average temperatures, potentially. The further north you go here in the Dakotas, you could have temperatures at times between 20 to almost 30 degrees above normal. So a warm Christmas might be nearing the forecast here when we look at the deterministic. Now, when we look at the ensemble forecast, how likely is that to come true? When we move this forward, we can see here, hold on a second. Sorry about that, folks. So, when we talk about these temperature anomalies, this is on an ensemble, folks. This is 27 degrees above normal all throughout Canada. I mean, most of Canada is going to be, well, it's not a heat wave because it's not going to be hot, but in climatology, meteorological perspectives, it is technically a heat wave in the middle of December. And this is one, related to El Nino, but two, sadly, it is related to climate change, all right? I don't believe in global warming, and I don't want to start any wars with that on here on YouTube, but it is related to climate change, unfortunately. With the warming of sea surface temperatures in higher latitudes, more blocking happens. And if we actually look at our geopotential height, I mean, look at that. I mean, I want to ask you guys this question, all right? And you guys answer, okay? We're going to play like not a game, but I'm going to even ask you, like, where is the Arctic outbreaks? Where are they, you know? And answer in the comment section, okay, for those that are listening in. Like, where are these Arctic shots? You know, some YouTubers have already proposed that, oh, this winter we're going to have a lot of Arctic outbreaks in the northern tier in the Great Lakes. I do not believe that will happen. I don't think it's going to occur. Maybe later on in winter, maybe towards like February, maybe late February, early March, we might see more Arctic outbreaks, but for sure, guarantee right now, there's not going to be anything in December in the way of any cold spells that you could otherwise see. You know, this is kind of on the other extreme. Arctic outbreak died in the other half of the world. Yeah, and you know where that actually is, cheesy weather? It's actually in Siberia. A lot of the Arctic cool is actually locked up there in Siberia in Russia, and even in portions of Alaska here, where we can see the ensemble where the polar vortex is. I mean, the polar vortex is over here, then it kind of launches up here to the north, and then it kind of stays in higher latitudes. That's a consequence of a positive AO that is likely to develop by mid to late December here, with more low latitude blocking. So we have more ridging that takes place in mid and lower latitudes, more subtropical ridging, and more of the troughs or the cooler air is going to be locked further north. And so therefore you're going to have a lot of warming here in Canada, in much of the US. I don't see anything that screams big snows, big Arctic air masses that some YouTubers are trying to pull out of their head because they obviously know more about the pattern than other YouTubers. But I can tell you right now, at least in the next 8 to 10 days, I don't see anything that really allows me to see or say that there's going to be any cold outbreaks. Now, yes, it's going to be cold for the southeast, maybe for the southern tier down here, but that's because you're going to have a lot more moisture, more rainfall, and actually it has rained there a lot recently, and so you're actually not going to warm up the air as much as if the air is drier further north and the soils are drier, less higher dew points, and so the air is going to be able to warm up each day under ridging conditions that we see here. Also, another thing is, let's actually go and look at the Northern Hemisphere, and then we're going to be talking about the Pacific, because the Pacific really influences what we're going to see in January and in February and March. So this is, if we can actually, we cannot bring the stratosphere up here. Does the Euro let me do that? No, yeah, it does. Okay. Euro better let me actually put that up there. And so we can see our polar vortex mainly locked over Siberia over here. For reference, here is Alaska. See that right there? There's the country of Alaska. Here is, oops, my pin is not cooperating. There is Canada, and here is United States. Over here is basically kind of the northern UK, like Germany, and here over here is Russia, so to speak. Not exactly, but you get the connection. So this is where a lot of our Arctic air is going to be locked up, with more or less Arctic influences here over Canada because you got the polar vortex. And what we have going on here is your polar vortex is essentially over here. So I'm going to draw arrows up, and where we get anticyclonic flow right in here over the North Pacific. And so one that's going to lead to more mid and high latitude ridging, and that ridging is actually able to propagate into the United States, which explains on why December so far, and it's going to continue to be warmer than normal over the nation here because of where that polar vortex is. If we look at the 50 millibar anomaly too, it's very similar here. I know a lot of you guys don't, it's kind of hard to take this all in, but this is basically a look at where our polar vortex is. And then it does try to develop over Greenland with another lobe splitting off over, kind of still hanging around that Siberian region with more ridging here over the North Central Pacific into the United States. So really warm for the Midwest and for the nation here. It's just not, we saw this coming because El Ninos actually do lead to weakening of the polar vortex sometimes, but sometimes the polar vortex does get so weak where we get splits in this, where we get a couple of lobes, and models do not do very well at that. It's just not easy to forecast from run to run exactly how that all evolves, because the polar vortex, after all, does influence on what the polar vortex in the stratospheric polar vortex versus the surface or more lower elevations here. And this is what we're looking at here, the 200 millibar chart here showing us the polar vortex. It does try to intensify a little bit more. We see a lot more reds here, right here, but take note there, this might seem more westerly, but this is actually west-southwesterly, so we can see things kind of moving inward, and so there's a lot more warmer air advection in this portion of the world, say over here in Siberia, where it's a lot cooler. In fact, if we look at our temperature anomalies, let's bring that up, you can see where the cooler air is actually going to be in the short term. Lots of cooler air over here in Siberia, and that's why they're actually dealing with temperatures. You want to hear this, folks? Temperatures over northern Russia, northeastern Russia, in the Siberian Peninsula area, seeing temperatures as cold as -60, -70 degrees below zero in Fahrenheit. So if you thought 32 was cold, I want you guys to go to Siberia and let me know if -60, -50, -70 is cold for you all. Yeah, that's how cold it is over there. And that would be Canada if it weren't for this El Nino. So, yeah. Now, the GFS, ignore the GFS this far out. It's going to show crazy outcomes for the United States. But we know that's probably not going to end up happening. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about El Nino and what's going on with our pattern. Why are we not seeing the El Nino effects kick in yet? And I even talked to Ronald, which Ronald supposedly, I've talked to him a little bit today. He is going to be coming to visiting me. We're actually going to have a meet and greet. We have one of my loyal viewers, actually, one of my loyal subscribers on YouTube, where he's actually coming from Stockton, and we're actually going to meet up, and we're actually going to be talking about this, and we're going to discuss on like what's going to actually end up happening as far as when are we going to see this El Nino kick in, like rainfall, when we, because it would be very unfortunate to have some below average precipitation across the West and the Deep South. And a lot of you in Louisiana feel me on that, okay? So now let's take a look at what El Nino does. Okay, first of all, okay, and this is kind of we're doing a little lesson here, like schooling you all what to look for. Okay, I just blanked out there. What to look for as far as El Nino conditions go and who could get what. So when we look at the GFS here, this is the 18Z run. So if we play this through, see how wavy this jet stream is. See, just it's kind of wavy. It's just not acting like it should. This is not what we want. We do not want this. Because why? Because that tells us, one, the polar vortex, like we talked about, is rather weak in the midterm. We through mid-December, that's what we think is going to happen. And that's why higher latitudes are going to be warm, right? And so when we forward this through, the thing that I'm looking for is a hyperextension to the subtropical jet into the central North Pacific. And we don't see that. I mean, this is very upsetting. This is unsettling. Mid-December here, we have a stronger jet trying to pick up here. Thing is, it splits. So we have what we call a downstream split flow over the Northeast Pacific. We have a highly amplitude ridge that develops here, and we just get a wavy pattern. This is, it's still early in the season, so we just don't know exactly how this is all going to pan out exactly by mid-December. But seeing a split flow here does not give me, it doesn't give me confidence in the forecast very much, as if we had more of a butterscotch kind of, kind of like this. This is what I tell myself. What we need, David, is we need the jet to do this. It needs to slide. It needs to slide on butter, like a slip and slide. If it can stay straight, we can get more consistency with storms hitting the same areas multiple times, like we had in early January of last year when we had a big storm sequence happening across California, which actually allowed Tulare Lake to overflow. And there was a lot of, quite a bit of fatalities from last winter because of that jet stream, bringing in storm after storm after storm. Yeah, I don't want that to happen this winter, but, the thing is, even so, we're out of the drought, okay? You just cannot stop having rain for or get a very dry winter. It's kind of like you got to get it. This is December. This is winter months. We get our rainy season here in the West in the winter months. You guys, like in the deep South, you don't really need to worry as much about it in the winter months because you can get rain any time of the year. There's no dry season for a lot of you that live in the Midwest or the eastern half of the nation. Maybe Florida has a bit of a drier season, but still they get some moisture in the months of December. But my point here is that, we got the storm tracks got to kick in, and it's just kind of sleeping right now. But hopefully, according to the GFS model here, we start to see this awaken a little bit. We'll see about that. This is still at higher latitudes. We want to get this a little further south. And so, in other words, if we go back and look at the 18Z run from before, let's see. Is there any perfect run that I can grab? No, there isn't. Let's go to Tropical Tidbits because that's probably going to be the source for this. So if we actually go to the 06Z run. This is several runs ago. This is a pattern that we want to see. Let's see. Let's go forward here. By the way, this is the U.S. So if you guys are wondering, this is the United States. This is kind of Florida. There's the Northeast, right? There's the United States. Here is Alaska up here. There is British Columbia. So you can kind of, and here's Hawaii down here. So hopefully you all can see that very well on the screen. So this is the pattern that I like to see. Look at that jet stream right there. That's very, very strong. Now it's not extended, right? It breaks off right there because we have a split flow. You can see that really in place, how things kind of split away. One portion of the jet goes into the northern United States, but take note too, it's also zonal. So you're going to have warmer temperatures versus the southern jet here is actually going to be further south, and that's going to allow some rainfall to fall in southern portion of the U.S., including maybe for California. So imagining this jet right here. So I'm going to box this in. So imagining this jet right here extending itself even all the way out to even over here. So roughly just past the 150 west longitude line, okay? In west, right? There's your longitude lines. So that's what we want to see here. We want to see a very smooth jet. Now, there is going to be some sort of split flow that happens from this, because wherever this jet usually exits, it's called the exit region of the jet. You get split flow and a downstream ridge from that. And so if you imagine this jet stream that splits, you would get storms here, and you get the low pressure that forms here in the northeastern portion of the Pacific. And then you get more amplified ridging that is anchored over central Canada, with downstream troughing perhaps here, maybe even in the northeast, with more kind of this subtropical jet that feeds into the southern U.S. That's kind of what I want to see take place here. Now, this is early in the forecast. Well, this is not a forecast anymore, because this is from December the 4th. This is almost a couple of days ago. So this is not really new data, but this is a great example of how strong this jet is. And if you guys are wondering, how strong is that jet in the Western Pacific? That is over 230 knots. That is exceptionally strong. 230 knots. Okay. You guys are probably like, holy moly, that is strong. Yeah, that is definitely strong. And the stronger the jet stream, usually you get stronger storms, right? And so that's kind of what I want to see here, is I want to see that jet really shape up very strong. And what that's going to allow too is, if we go to our mean sea level pressure anomaly, we get a very strong Aleutian low that sets up here. Like, look at this. There's your Aleutian low that really shapes up. And that's the background state there of storms hitting the west, if that Aleutian low can get very strong and stay well put. And models do really good at projecting larger scale patterns than little ones that we're seeing right now. Compare that to this. I mean, this is really a mess. This is not what you want to see. And therefore, let's just hope the winter pattern gets going. And so that's what we're talking about. So what do you guys think about that? Oh, what's up, Casting West Michigan? How's everything? So what did you guys think about that? Looking at the jet stream, very strong, isn't it? So now, the theory behind why we are not seeing the jet stream the way we're seeing it, like we should see it, is because the thermal to wind gradient, or what we call the North Pacific, the North Pacific pressure dipole, which is a measure of, and you guys get to learn this, okay? It's called the NPID. I call it the NPID. It's called NPPD. Again, it's called NPPD, North Pacific Pressure Dipole, okay? And I will show you with what that actually means. A little lesson here, folks, a little bit of a lesson learned here. So this is actually not in sea surface temperatures. It's a teleconnection that I'm kind of researching at my own grill here. So it's not really sea surface temperature related, but what we're going to look for here is a strengthening subtropical jet, and it's because of the difference here from the Western Pacific and the Northern Pacific. Actually, the Western, or kind of the equatorial, and the Northwestern Pacific is where we get the tightest thermal wind gradient between these two areas. And so hopefully, if we can get big storms here, we could actually cool this area down a little bit. Imagining if we can cool that down, we could get a much more tighter response in the lower atmosphere, and then eventually in the mid-troposphere, to get that subtropical jet screaming or kind of somewhat northeast of Hawaii, kind of like this. right? And that could set up still by January, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. So now, some of you are probably wondering, what's the North Pacific pressure dipole? Okay, and you guys can actually learn this. So there are 3 key metrics that I use here to measure the pressure index. Actually, this is not a good map for this. Let's actually look at tropical tidbits. Okay, so there is tropical tidbits. So basically, in other words, so let's go to here. This is in the next 12 hours, right? This is more of a positive phase of the North Pacific pressure dipole. It is a difference in air pressure in 3 different areas. So we got higher pressure, higher than normal sea level pressure in Hawaii. We got lower than normal or near average sea level pressure over San Diego. And then we have higher than normal pressure or near average sea level, or wait, I forgot there's a city around in the Bering Sea or near the Bering Sea on some of these islands here of Alaska. So there's a pressure. I have to exactly go back and look at exactly where it's at, but it's somewhere over here where that pressure is taken. So we can make a triangle here at showing you all how the index is corrected. So listen up. Are you guys ready for this? Listen very closely. So the negative phase of the North Pacific pressure dipole that's related to El Nino that helps again bring us a lot of rain for the deep south of the U.S. along to go with above average rainfall for the west is characterized by a negative phase of the North Pacific pressure dipole pattern, which is characterized by near to below average sea level pressure over Hawaii, well below average sea level pressure over Southern California, and well below average sea level pressure over the North Central Pacific, okay? And so what that's going to mean is our Aleutian low is stronger than that of a positive phase of the North Pacific pressure dipole, or NPPD for short, an acronym, all right? This is kind of, it's not official because I'm still studying about it. Okay, I'm researching this. So this is not an actual, you could find on the internet teleconnection. I just want to make that clear with you all. This is kind of a made up term that I'm discovering right now in relation to how this impacts the Western US and the Deep South. Okay. And so right now we're in a positive phase of the North Pacific pressure dipole pattern, which is why we're seeing dry conditions across much of the Midwest and the northern tier with below average precipitation anomalies and above average temperatures over the western U.S. But hopefully once we get towards, again, perhaps towards mid-December, we might see things flip here. By the end of the forecast period over Hawaii, we have near average, below average, and slightly below average here. So this would be a slightly negative North Pacific pressure dipole pattern. Still not what I want to see for a typical El Nino. We want to see more something like this trying to set up. Now, this is very strong, but it is, because of the subtropical high, this would be actually what we call still a neutral or positive, maybe neutral to slightly positive North Pacific pressure dipole pattern that is in place. Even so we have the Aleutian low here, this is still above average here and above average down here in Hawaii. Hopefully, oh my gosh, you guys are probably... you're probably just still taking in all the information. So do you guys understand with what I just spoke there about the North Pacific pressure dipole? I want to hear your guys' feedback on that. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that made sense. I try my best, I'll tell you. I know, Ohio, Jen, yes, it's way over my head. It's another teleconnection. I know there's what you call the NAO, or the North Atlantic Oscillation. I'm actually going to type up on a lot of this on Wikipedia. Hopefully, if they approve it, you can find that on Wikipedia as well. But again, simple way to put it, again, 3 locations: Hawaii, Southern California out of Los Angeles or San Diego, whichever one works best, but theoretically it should be San Diego. And let me see what island that is. It's one of the islands up there in the Bering Sea of Alaska that I actually, I forgot the name. Okay, it's actually going to be, let's see if it's on here. If it's on here. That's if it is. It's actually going to be, so this is El Nino. So the Aleutian Low is here. So it actually should be over, I don't think this, oh no, it's not St. Paul. I'll have to do more research into this. I think it's Anchorage or False Pass. One of these 2 cities that the measurement is taken that I have in my head. I cannot grab it out of my head and just immediately tell you guys, but it's there. It's a triangle: Alaska, California, and Hawaii. Brent Williams, what's up? How are you doing? I think I understand, kind of. Yeah, it's going to take a while, you all, to get a grasp on what that actually is. But that's an important dipole that I am researching, because if that's negative, that means the Aleutian Low is stronger than it should be. It's larger, more, not so much stronger, but it's larger, and it's more influential with the West and also for the Deep South, because when you have a stronger North Pacific or a negative phase of that lower pressure, that's what negative stands for, we could actually get low pressures that sneak their way into the southern U.S. and bring a lot of rainfall. More like El Nino-like, and that's what we had last this year in January, in early January. We had a near historic negative North Pacific pressure dipole, and it was so negative, and I believe that's why we have the El Nino, because it really kind of reshaped the sea surface temperature structure in the North Pacific. I mean, that was just phenomenal. Really phenomenal. All right. You also want to know what's phenomenal, okay? Guess what it is. Guess what's very phenomenal right now in the Pacific. I want to see if you guys know what I'm thinking of. If you guys could be a mind reader, read my mind. What's up, Chris Ross again? What's up, Casting West, Michigan? Butter Dog. Dog could end up like butter, like the jet stream. No, I'm just kidding. He could slip and slide on the jet stream, take a hitchhike. So, guess what I'm thinking, what we're looking at. Like the videos, man. Oh, thank you so much, Eaton. I'm glad you like my haircut. Yeah, my hair is growing out, as y'all can see. Every 6 months, every semi-quarter, or every annually, I get a haircut. So what we're looking at here is the El Nino. This is absolutely strong. All right, I mean, come on. I mean, how clear of a signal can you get on an El Nino this strong? Not very often. And right now, in the Central Pacific, we have very warm sea surface temperature anomalies, anywhere in the books of about 2 Celsius to maybe as low as maybe 1.95 Celsius, all the way up to 2.2 Celsius. I mean, that is very concerning. That is ranking on one of the higher end El Ninos that we're seeing. Not only that, this is very strong over here in the El Nino 3 and 3.4 region. Almost, we got some anomalies over here of 3.4 Celsius. That is very significant on an El Nino standpoint. And when we zoom in here, yeah, see, you can see that. Actually, wait, no, there's 4.7 right here. 4.7, 3 to 3.4 Celsius. So this is really, really intense. So now some of you are like, oh, David, there's cooler water showing up over Peru. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a Madoki. We're going to have a Madoki. Okay. This is typical for an El Nino, okay? El Nino, theoretically, okay, things propagate from east to west. So if we look at our El Nino, okay, remember early on in the period, okay, let's go over here to May 10th. Actually, no, let's go. Here's a good representation. All right. So remember this, July 22nd, 2023. You all were probably saying, oh gosh, this is going to be an east-based El Nino. This is going to be one of the strongest east-based El Nino events on record. All right. That's because of what you're seeing now, right? But as you can see, things propagate. So since it was very warm here in the Eastern Pacific, okay, in the equatorial portion, if we forward this through, we can see how things kind of evolved, right? So now we're starting to see cooler anomalies show up here along the Peru coast. This does not mean there's a Madoki. There's not going to be a Madoki. This does not mean this is central based or whatever. This is still eastern based because what we're seeing here, it's warmer over here than it is over here in anomalous terms, right? And so, therefore, this is still east-based weighted. It is not a Madoki. If you guys get this from some people on Twitter, a great example is, I don't want to call out anyone on Twitter. That's not what I'm here for. But there are some people on Twitter who say, oh, it looks like we're going to have an Madoki El Nino. All right. I want to ask you all this question. What month are we in, right? We're in December, correct? And so you can get an idea that, okay, we're peaking. El Nino is peaking intensity this month. Technically might strengthen a tad bit more, just a tad bit more into early January. Early January might just kind of get a little stronger. But we're kind of at that plateau right now. No, that does not mean El Nino is going to weaken at the end of December. No, it doesn't weaken that fast, okay? Now, it can, but it doesn't happen very often, all right? And so I do expect, despite this warming of the waters here, this is eventually going to become more east-based, and I do expect that El Nino will get slightly stronger this month of December, and it's not going to be a Madoki, all right? It is not going to be a Madoki. If you're finding this on Twitter from a Madoki, from someone posting that, it's because of this water. You're wrong. I'm sorry. I don't want to call people out here. I'm not trying to do that. I'm extrapolating of what I see here. Waters are warm throughout. I mean, this is not a Madoki. Now, what would be a Madoki is if you had a lot of this warm water here in this region, okay? Just right there, and you had very cool anomalies showing up in the Eastern Pacific. Then I would be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a Madoki. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a Madoki El Nino. No, it's not. All right. And actually, if we go to Cyclone WX, very good website, by the way. It's on my website that I'll show you here in just a second. If we look at our El Nino 3.4 region, and I'm not looking at daily contributions here, I'm looking at the average, the net weight average. And right now, we're approaching 2 Celsius. Now, this is from the NOAA Coral Reef Watch, but if we extrapolate this further, we're probably approaching now 2 Celsius, or actually we are over 2 Celsius because of from what the PowerPoint showed this morning. So we're at 2.1 Celsius in sea surface temperatures in the El Nino 3.4 region, which is only a couple of points away of kind of meeting up with 1995 and 96 of that El Nino. And usually this peaks in late December into early January, right around Christmas time, which hence is why it's called the Christ child in Spanish for El Nino. And so I do expect that there will be more warming happening in the Eastern Pacific Basin through the month of December into early January before this kind of starts to cool off and becomes more of a La Nina. Now, what I just said, oh, is there going to be a La Nina, David? Well, this is when we go to the PowerPoint. And I'm not going to go through a whole lot of detail on this because there's a lot to unpack with this. You all can check it out. Actually, I'm going to add that in onto my website in a little after this stream is over, so you guys can check that out daily. Part of my website is I'm going to add a lot of weather websites as often as I can possible. So what I wanted to show you all is this right here. This is a big deal. 1+2 region, 2.1, and you can see which region is warmer. I want you guys, we're going to play a quick guessing game. Which region of the Pacific is warmest in the El Nino region? I want you guys because if you guys answer my question, then you guys, it's kind of like you guys understand, right? If I answer for you, it's like, it's in between El Nino and La Nina. No, it's not. No, it's not. Jacob and Xavier Weather, we're in El Nino. Also, wasn't 1995-96 winter super similar, and a lot of the temps for northern U.S. and Midwest dropped in January? That's a possibility. We're going to actually look at the climate models here in just a second on what I think might happen. That's not part of my winter forecast. 1+2 region, yes, cheesy weather. So you can kind of get an idea. If it's warmer in the Eastern Pacific, then say the Modoki region would be El Nino 4. So if this was 2.1 Celsius, this was 1.7, 1.0, and then 0.1 Celsius, then I would be like, okay, we have a Modoki going on. This is not very common. And so we can see here, yes, the 1+2 region has cooled, but not so much of the other three basins that are still going up on a long-term average. Plateaued a little bit in the 3 region, but still, that is running at around, that's very warm still. And yes, 3.4 region is still warming up at this given time. So yeah, this is a big deal. One other thing that I want to show you all is the upper ocean heat content now is absolutely courageous. This is very significant in the subsurface of the El Nino. And you can see, look how much warm water is underneath the skin of the ocean. This is basically looking down through the ocean of the water. And this gives us an idea on how much heat is being built up below the surface. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know where people are getting the term Modoki from, because I'm sorry, you're not correct. We're seeing it in East-based El Nino still shaping up. In fact, the Eastern Pacific in the subsurface has actually warmed up a little bit. So if we look at the box here in the easternmost portion of the El Nino regions, we can see there has been a little bit of warming shaping up here in recent weeks. Since the 24th of November, we have actually, you know what? Since the 9th of November, nearly a month ago, we've actually warmed up a little bit here yet again, which means there's not much upwelling. We're seeing another downwelling Kelvin wave return, which is a big deal. And some of these anomalies here are 4 to almost 6 degrees Celsius above average. So if that surfaces, my goodness, that would be an El Nino that we have not seen at all. And that would surpass the 2015-16 El Nino. That was the strongest El Nino ever recorded, ever on the face of Earth. Never seen an El Nino that strong. And that beats 1995-96. All right, so that's that. So again, we're still headed up on the mountain here in the 15-day average. Even so, this is oh wait, no, this is actual sea surface temperatures. This is the anomaly, so let's back this out. So this might be dropping a little bit, but it could also go up very quickly. Look at this. In a matter of 1, 2, 3 days, you went from 1.5 to 2 Celsius, a half a degree Celsius above average, adding on to that in a couple of days. So this could spike again, and we just don't know how much that's going to do because this is still encompassing December. Long story short, El Nino is going to continue to strengthen. All right, it's not weakening. People are going to say it's going to weaken. I would be careful with social media these days, depending on what you look at. Because me and Ronald have talked about this, and there is no indications to me that that's the case, that El Nino is weakening. All right, now let's take a look at the climate models. Okay, the weeklies. All right, this is kind of another way of looking at the atmosphere on El Nino conditions. So this is basically an ensemble. This is the Euro extension ensemble forecast. Again, using a lot of the members, putting this together into one format. And so going forward through the middle of December, we can see there's your below average heights over California, like we're going to see, right? We're going to see this wavy pattern. And then some of you are like, okay, where's the rain for California? There is increasing confidence that December is going to be a very harsh month for the West as far as precipitation goes. It's going to be below average, probably for much of the U.S. as well. Not going to be a good month. Maybe down here for the Southeast, you actually might get more rainfall chances because the below average heights and the subtropical jet actually work in its favor. But there's no sign here of any Arctic outbreaks like I showed you. And that does change a little bit here, maybe a little cooler than average for the Northeast, but you can see these below average heights, more zonal flow increasing. Even back west too, we're going to add in on the near average heights, which again is the state of the atmosphere. Is our jet stream strong? Is it weak? You know, that's the portion of the atmosphere that we like to look at. This is the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st. And we can see here, classic El Nino pattern where the jet stream does this, kind of comes southward and then it moves into Southern California with this ridge that's in Canada, which matches well with analogs for a classic El Nino. And there's more to back that up once we get and look at the monthly outlook here from the seasonal guidance from the Euro that got released today. By the early part of January, we have anomalous troughing, more storms, and that's a strong jet. Look how powerful that is. This is going to get going once we get into mid to late December. And look at this. I mean, this is pretty formidable for the West. I mean, this is pretty serious. Lots of rainfall, lots of storminess, average heights here, more zonal flow. Not much troughing in the Northeast here like you might typically expect with a La Nina. And so, therefore, I think early January might start off warm, and then maybe towards the end of the forecast might see some cooling temperatures. We'll look at the temperature anomalies here in just a second, but we can see here more zonal flow. Okay, precipitation forecast. Looking at that really quickly, below average to end December. December is not going to be a good month for us, unfortunately. But as we turn the calendar into January, we start seeing a lot of wetness show up, especially for much of the Northeast here. Does this mean a white Christmas or not? We don't know. Chaz is saying, when is El Nino ending? El Nino is not going to end probably until mid to late spring. This is a strong event, Chaz. So if you are prone to dry conditions, I'm sorry, brother. It happens. You know, it's climate. So if you all are in the Southeast here and the Northeast, again, above average precipitation anomalies are likely. And this is going to continue, okay? Perhaps even into mid-January. Look at this. Classic El Nino pattern. Wet for the east, for the south, and wet for the west. But also wants Pacific Northwest in it too with above average precipitation. More storms. That's going to be what we might see here in the days to come. Now, looking at temperature anomalies, let's look at the 7-day average. You can see above average here for much of Canada. I mean, this is through the end of December. Very warm here. There is no Arctic outbreaks at all. Look at Hudson Bay, possibly 15 to almost 20 degrees above average. And then starting off early January, cooling off here in lower latitudes, especially over the kind of the upper Midwest and the Northeast. And even for the West, going to see near average temperatures, which is ironic because usually you should get warmer temperatures over here in this portion of the U.S. and usually it's kind of warm even into the Great Lakes. But in this case, this is going to be one of those El Ninos that the Euro is indicating that's going to be actually cooler than average for much of the nation. So you all are saying, oh, we're going to see icy conditions. We're going to see more snows. That guarantees a higher chance, yes, but we're not seeing negative temperatures. We're not going to see these blasts of cold air coming in out of the north because that would otherwise be here, right? This is all above average in the higher latitudes of Canada. You're not seeing the Arctic air masses like some people are advertising. It may happen in February, and we'll be looking at the climate models and the monthly standpoint on the Euro here in just a second. But really warm up here to start off to end December to start off January with below average anomalies looking slightly likely. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be exceptionally cold or an exceptionally warm as we get deeper into winter. Okay, so now let's take a look at our seasonal forecast. This is fresh out of the oven, fresh off the press, and this is the Euro seasonal forecast. Everyone trusts the Euro over anything else. So what is the seasonal looking like? This is for December. We just started December, so it's looking wetter than average like we talked about for the Southeast. That's probably going to come back into play for the second half of December, maybe even kind of beyond December 10th. We might see more storms there, like that storm that we're seeing next week. Bring in more will bring more moisture to that region. For the Pacific Northwest, pretty consistent here. And if we actually look back at the previous run, this kind of flipped. Now looking at wet conditions there for the Pacific Northwest, dry conditions for California for December. Now going forward into January, we can see that El Nino with nearly an inch above average for January. But again, this is kind of a guide and not an actual forecast because we know how things can and can't verify. But wet for California and also wetter than normal conditions for the Southeast, including for Florida. So that seems to be well in range of things. Below average here for Texas a little bit, but of course, we can't know for sure if that's going to exactly pan out because the pattern has not verified really well. But for the 3-month average here for the winter months, looking at January, February, and March, we're looking at nearly a couple of inches, maybe 2 to 4 inches above average for California. And then, of course, quite a bit of wet weather, 2 to 4 inches above average for the Southeast, according to this forecast. For temperatures, let's look at that. Okay, yeah, this is what we're looking for. You can see warmer for December. January kind of transitions a little bit. Maybe some cooler than normal anomalies for the Southeast, but look at this. There's no Arctic invasions this year. Fewer in between for March. Going to be a warm one, unfortunately. You guys, like last year, had a really warm winter most of the part. Going to probably see another one of those this year. And hopefully you're ready to get the tank tops out just in case if it ends up being warmer the further south you end up going. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? I'm so bored of warm. You know what, Jacob and Xavier Weather? I am so bored of not seeing any rainfall for a while for us. In fact, let's do this. Let's do this. You guys get to see. We're under a winter weather advisory for the higher elevations. Lovely. All right, Sacramento. I can see some storms coming in. And we do got that storm coming in tomorrow night, so that's going to be the one that's going to be the storm that we have to watch. Might bring a quite a bit of rainfall. So here's the precipitation history from Sacramento, and we can see past El Ninos. Look at December so far, not looking too precious. Pretty dry here. And then if we go and look at... See, the past few Decembers haven't been very wet, though. Oh, wait, no, this is November. Duh. Oh, my gosh. My brain is spinning around in circles. This is November. So we'll have to see how December ends up being. Hopefully we get something like this. We need to really make up for these dry months that we've had. If we can get a really wet one, oh my gosh. I will go and hug all of you guys as viewers, saying thank you for rainfall. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully we don't end up like 2017. Look how dry that one was, but it wasn't until January when we got a lot of rainfall. So I'm hoping that we can get a lot of storms and crazy weather. Only if sunny, the cheesy weather allows it. Because you are sunny, cheesy weather, and you impact the climate. And you're making our oceans warmer than they should be. All right. Wait. Is that not the threshold that the... Oh, wait, no. I personally think El Nino is going to end by March or April. Chaz, probably. It will probably end by, like, April at least, I think. Will the Ohio Valley get more snow or more rain? So based on the upcoming weather pattern, so for Eastern Ohio, will probably get, will more likely get more snow. So more like this portion, actually, wait, no, more like this area right over here is going to see more snow than not. The further west and northwest you get, you're probably not going to have a lot of snow. As much snow because of the jet, okay? Because, again, we're seeing a lot of this flow. Let's go forward here on the GFS. See, you're getting a lot of this southwesterly flow, and so that does not allow the cooler air from the north to come down. Especially, look at towards the end of the forecast here. I mean, this is really a strong jet here, and this is not what you want to see for temperatures at all. This is well above average. In fact, maybe some record high temperatures potentially. Even so, it is a jet stream. This is your subtropical jet. And this usually means a lot of moisture, a lot of low latitude cyclones that like to advect in. And you can see, look at all that rain, or look at all that PWAT. There are a lot of moisture, maybe even some flood concerns as well later on in the period if this would continue. Well, I am liking the GFS, though. Will it be a blizzard? Vince Gamarino, so you're probably referring to the upcoming storm. So with that storm, there's a lot of uncertainty. Oh, wait, no, this is, well, wrong model. Oh, my gosh, did I show you guys the wrong model the whole time? Okay, this is the latest model. So, this storm on the GFS does not look to bring a whole lot of snow, but if we look at prior model runs, it's been kind of shifting around a little bit. But it has been trending down a little bit from prior model runs. So, right now, for the time being, I would say maybe a couple of inches of snow through the next couple of weeks. Beyond that, the pattern is so variable, and I'm not trying to be like, I don't know what I'm talking about. The pattern is so wavy that we just don't know what the second half of December is going to bring. When you have a very wavy jet stream, there's a lot of kinks that can go wrong. It just, the most unstable predictability with the weather pattern is when you have your jet stream like this. It's wavy, like we talked about. There is no stability. But for right now, this storm does not, on the Euro, wants more of a wet snow for your area. You can kind of get an idea right behind, barely snowing at the surface. Might get maybe an inch, maybe a couple of inches at most. Weather Tractor Team, what's up? Clint, how are you doing? So, anything else you guys want me to add in before I head off? Because I need to actually eat dinner. And then hopefully I will have a video out tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I should be able to. If it all goes well. If not, it's back to the live stream department. Before I do go, I have a question to ask you all. Okay? What are your guys' thoughts of the winter pattern? Specifically for my area. Because I know we might see a wet winter, but what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think California is going to get a lot of rain this winter? Because December has been really dry so far. So are we going to see a lot of rainfall this December? If you would think to yourself, don't look at with what I was showing you all based on models. What are your personal opinions? Your own opinions. Tomorrow's... Oh my gosh. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Oh, I said church, didn't I? Why did I am a day ahead of schedule. I guess I'm a day ahead of schedule. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow night it rains. Okay, so that is Wednesday night it's supposed to rain. See, I feel like today is Thursday. No, wait. I feel like today is Wednesday. That's what I feel like today is. Any predictions for South Florida, Roy Eldridge? For Southern Florida, you're definitely going to have a wet winter. If you missed the whole winter forecast that I kind of broke down in detail, it does show a lot of rainfall for the Southeast, including for Florida. So there is no chance that you would have a really dry winter this year. Weatherman 7000, it depends on the subtropical jet. I think it might kick in later on more stronger. All right. That makes sense. So probably in late December, it should kick in. What I want to see, though, is I want to see, not that, of course, because that doesn't go very far out. I want to see something like this. That is just perfect. Again, sliding. It is sliding. It's just very smooth. So if we can slide, all it has to do is do that. And I'll tell you what. Oh, I wanted to show you guys my website, and then I'll call it a night. Don't leave. Don't leave. I swear, if you guys leave, I'm going to be mad. No, I'm just kidding. I want to show you guys my website, though. But before I show you all, though, that's the pattern that we got to watch. How does that ridge evolve? How does that trough? See, if that can go like this, we're fine. But if it goes north, it's going to be dry. You know, it's all about if that trough can do this and do that, then we can get something, you know. Maybe I'll have to, when we get a big storm, I'll have to do a live stream on how I break down the forecast. I think a lot of you guys would be like, oh, I want to see how David does his forecast behind the scene. Probably going to love it a lot. Well, guess what? Guess what? Guess whose website this is? Guess whose website this is? I'm done with my winter forecast. Molly Brown, if you want to check out my latest, I made one like a few weeks ago. It's on my YouTube channel. So guess what I made? Is there going to be a wind advisory for Pittsburgh Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with that storm. Probably not, more likely, certainly a wind advisory. Would not surprise me if there's a high wind warning, especially for higher elevations. Yes, it's my website. I made this. I'm still putting a little more work into it. I think I did a pretty good job at it already. I need to embed my weather station data. So I'm going to figure out on how I can embed this into my website. So it'd be like live weather data. And then I can actually add that in. But there's a link. Okay, click on the link, folks. And if you want to become a member, it's free. There is no cost whatsoever. I'm not asking for any money here. It's completely free. Because not everyone has Facebook, and the problem with Facebook is not everyone has it. So I thought a better strategy here would be to start a website. So this is the SacramentoWeatherCenter.com website. This is my website. And so if you guys want to check it out, click the link. It's in the chat. SacramentoWeatherCenter.com. You can see my welcome page, my about page, read everything, get to know me. My blog is going to be the more active part of the website, the links that I add in and everything. And eventually my weather station data. So I'm going to try to see on how I can embed and do some encoding and stuff like that for the site, so you all can get more out of it. But for right now, this is my blog posting that I do quite often. Not every day. I do it every other day or so, but it's where I do my blog posting for the West. And so I got some people asking me, are you going to expand out of the Sacramento area? Eventually I will, but the sole purpose is the name right here, Sacramento Weather Center Office, which means I cover the Sacramento Valley, San Joaquin Valley, the Sierras, the Lake Tahoe area, the Bay Area. I go all the way from Redding southward to Merced and all the way into the mountains such as Reno, South Lake Tahoe and stuff. You can see it on the homepage on which areas I cover there. Actually, I'm going to be adding an area eventually on the website on which areas do I actually cover, so you kind of all understand that. Eventually, when I get more, I'm hoping when Ronald comes this weekend, I'll show him this, and maybe if he wants to become a contributor, he can probably extend the service out to, say, more of the desert Southwest. I'm more of a local person, but if you know, and so until that happens, this is more kind of in the California region. But you guys can still follow me. It doesn't hurt at all. Also, the most awesome thing that you guys are going to like is the list of all the weather websites. All right, websites that you don't know about, I'm sure. And so, including a few of these are weather simulation games, weather related, dynamic fluid simulator, the 2D weather sandbox. So if you guys want to know, oh, wait, how did David get that website? That's cool. Just be sure to check out SacramentoWeatherCenter.com/links for more information. So if I click on this, it's going to take me right to there. Or if I click on this, it'll take me to weather COD, you know. Or if I click on AccuWeather, simply it'll take me to AccuWeather.com. So, and I even have Space Weather and Zoom Earth where you all can check that out too. And I'm going to be adding more as I discover more. Eventually, I'm actually going to add a few more tonight onto the website. And so, yeah, be sure to check that out. And everything. Yeah, this was not free to put together. So if you guys want to show your support and everything. And here's a disclaimer, of course, and everything like that. And if you guys want to show your support, $5 does go a long way for the site. This helps to keep the site up and running 24/7 without any issues at all. Okay, and because of course the domain was not free, and to sign up through this company was not free at all. It was pretty expensive. So helping me out is well appreciated. And of course, you all can check out my Twitter page. I am actually a few away from 1,300. So if you guys want to follow me right now, for the 60 people that are watching, get me up to 1,300 followers. That would be great. Can't believe I've come a long way to get this far, and I can't do it without all of your guys' diligent, loyal, blessed support that I provide you all. It's just not on YouTube. It's actually on other sites. I'm actually trying to balance things out, favor half my time onto the website, Twitter, and the other half of the time on YouTube, instead of just focusing only on YouTube in itself. So yeah, last call. If you guys want to share, like, and subscribe, be sure to do that. Check out the website if you haven't already, and also be sure to follow me on Twitter for the latest information. But that's going to do it with this live stream. As always, the weather discussion is brought to you by David Schlotthauer. As always, check out the Sacramento Weather Center group on my future videos, as well as on live streams. That's going to do it, you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you guys. Big, big hug. Big old fat hug. And I can just see all of you in this circle giving me a big old fat hug. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow. Fingers crossed that I am going to be here tomorrow until I figure things out a little more. All right? But peace out, folks. See you back here next time.